11 East Main Street. The applicant seeks preliminary and final site plan approval for a change of use of the first floor from mercantile occupancy classification to a business occupancy classification for 11 East Main Street. Also, the applicant also seeks a variant for release of parking with a number of parking spaces required, one for each 300 feet. Roughly 6 spaces are required. They're looking for some relief that pursuant to the village code, and the property is zoned central business. Is Joseph here? Joseph, tell us what you want to do and why you're looking for relief from the code.
Sure. So we acquired the property at 11 East Main Street to relocate a business from 60 Barrett Drive and Emerald Financial Services into the first floor. It was formerly vacant, but prior to that, it was nesting things, small store, mercantile designation. So obviously, we're switching from that to business office designation. Upstairs is residential, has been residential, and will remain residential. I am not seeking any changes whatsoever to the site or the exterior of the building beyond the signage, which was approved a couple weeks ago by the Historical Preservation Group. And I haven't, I don't think I've received a final, what's the word I'm looking for here, resolution from your board regarding the exact requirements of the signage, but we had discussed that. I believe they unanimously approved it, and they were good with that single sole change that we are making to the exterior.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this board has a copy of the resolution that the Historic Preservation Commission took.
Oh, great.
So they changed your proposed colors, they got to conform to, they came up with a little different color scheme. And instead of 2 fixtures, it's going to be 1 in the center.
Correct. Correct.
Otherwise, they granted the certificate of appropriateness for the changes.
Thank you very much.
The color codes are in,
Yeah.
that we talked about.
Yes.
Thank you. Gotcha.
Come to the meeting and look what you get.
Yep, so on the back page is exactly the changes that we discussed, and the exact dimensions and those colors, if anybody's interested, that we discussed are on the first page. And we gave Sherwin-Williams, thank you very much.
Now the sign is 15 by 82?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have the, what's the word? Does anybody remember? Without looking at the book?
Nah, I can go look at the book if you
All
want.
right.
So the sign permit application.
Yeah, I'm
I will
thinking-
review it.
What's that? I'm
I
sorry.
will review the sign permit application as soon as I get approval from the board.
Okay, all right.
But it's not any bigger than the old sign.
Not visible.
No, it's roughly the same size.
Yeah.
Did we change anything in the design of the sign? Is it going to be square? Is it going to be rounded? Is it going to be tapered at the edges?
I have presented photos of the sign to the Historical Preservation Commission. I don't have them with me, but it's a wood sign that will be lit. It's not backlit or anything. It's a wood sign, and it will be lit with the gooseneck that's painted, and thus the color recommendations from HPC. They're the colors that they would prefer.
And by lit, it's something that comes over it with lights that aim down at
So
it?
it's a single gooseneck fixture that comes off the building and aims back at the sign, which
Okay.
is mounted to the building. And so there's one there now. Essentially, we're replacing and centering the one that's there now that I believe is going to fall apart.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're having a finance company going there?
Financial services, correct.
It's a relatively small company, and by that, what I mean is, does it have 4 or 5 financial people who see their people every day? Or-
Correct, there's capacity for 8, but yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, the renovations are already done.
Yes.
They're already done.
Yes. Yes, I believe there was some miscommunication regarding the exact process that we had to undergo that led us here today. But we are here today. And
Give me a little bit of detail on the parking issue that you think you have. You've got some parking on the street out there. There's also a park
He doesn't
village.
give any parking on the street, that's in the New York State right away. He doesn't own that. There is no parking on this particular lot. So, in the.
But it's, my point was that it's still there in front of the building, and
But
you were
he-
looking for 6.
Right, but he can't regulate it. Anybody can park.
Right.
correct. So,
So in effect, he's got, on his lot, he's got 0 parking spaces. Okay, but in the code, 175-53B, up to 100% of the parking spaces required for a structure in subsection A may be otherwise located upon approval of the zoning board of appeals upon a finding that there is insufficient available parking on the same lot with the structure, yes. Finding that the required spaces are provided in a permanent and accessible manner, and that the off-site parking is within 500 feet of the site of the structure and within the same or less restricted district. So in other words, the village maintained lots.
Right.
correct. So
There are village-maintained lots within 500 feet of this particular building. So basically, he's looking for a variance for this board to say, yes, you don't need your own parking, you can use the village public parking lots. It's a problem that
And
most...
this may be curiosity on my part, but don't they already have that there for that location as an issue?
Any of the buildings on.
So that's what I mean.
They all.
This has been granted multiple variances.
Yeah.
This building has been granted multiple variances
For
for
parking.
parking. And it doesn't go with the building, it goes with the use, correct?
Right, how many people are?
Which is why he's here for a variance.
Because the use has changed.
Correct.
That's all.
Okay. Other questions for people on the board? Anyone got any questions for you?
So my only question is, because this is being changed from nesting things, which was a commercial retail shop, to a financial, I'm assuming that the visitation from people would be less than a retail shop,
yes.
needing less parking.
Yes, this typically, the requirement for retail parking per 1,000 square foot of building is usually substantially higher than that of office. So, in theory here, the impact to the village would be less than the former use.
You think? How many full-time financial service advisors might be in residence at any given day?
Well, I mean, as I stated, it could be up to 8, but to clarify my question, the question that was asked to me is, I was kind of referencing what typical standards are. I'm not referencing what Neston things had as occupants on a typical day. I have no data whatsoever to support what that could be. But typical retail, based on typical use and turnover, is usually much higher than the required parking for office.
In the village, again, 175-53, the parking requirements. For a general office, it's 1 space for every 300 square feet. It's not tied to the number of employees, it's the square footage. And for a store, it's one for each 250 square feet of gross floor area. So you need more for a store than for a general office.
Other questions by anyone? Do you have any questions for us?
No, thank you, for coming out tonight.
Very good, thank you. All right, want to open it up to anybody in the general public who's got anything to say for or against it?
No, I just, we talked with them through Historic Preservation Commission to make sure that they met all of our demands. And they talked to us about everything that they were doing on the inside. He's even said, I can come take a tour. I think this is fantastic for the village. So I know we have parking issues and we're going to have them forever. It's just the way it is. And East Main Street is more difficult than West Main Street.
Okay.
So, yeah, otherwise I'm just happy that they want to be here.
And Judy, we know who you are, but for the record, can you just identify yourself? Are you here as a village resident,
Yeah.
a village trustee, or a member of
Well,
the
no,
village
I'm just
historic
Julie
preservation commission?
and I'm just as a village resident.
Okay.
I
Just
do
so
all the
Karen
other
can
stuff.
put it in the minutes.
Yes, Karen.
Thank you. All right, anyone else want to say anything for or against it? The general portion will be stand at the microphone, just tell us who you are, where you're from, and tell us how you feel. We don't press it either way. But I don't see anyone else, so we can let our meeting minutes say that there isn't anyone else. Okay, comments, questions from members of the board on this, on what has to be done or what we're looking for here?
Just a sidebar, when I walked by today to take a look at they already were open and they've done a nice job of changing it. There isn't one big room anymore like when it was a store. They've got the different cubicles and meeting area. It's very well done.
Very good, thank you. All right, do we have to call this a type 1 or 2?
Yes, you have to call it a type 1 or type 2, but it's actually a type 2.
I would have thought so.
Because it's simply a rehabilitation or reconstruction of an existing structure.
It doesn't change any.
Right. Nothing on the exterior is being changed, except for the sign.
Okay,
So it's a type 2.
so it is a type 2. Do we need to have a formal motion on that?
Just like the daycare center. yes.
Okay, anyone want to make that to us?
I'll make a motion that it's a type 2 pursuant to seeker.
We have a motion on the table, seconded?
That was
Twice, seconded twice?
Two times.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Very good, thank you. We got that part done. All right, so now we have, in my book, we've got 2 things to do here. First, we have the applicant seeks primary and final site plan approval for the change of use from the mercantile down to the, and I guess what we're calling it is business classification. Then the second thing we need is we need a variance for the parking, and that's in 17533. It's supposed to have 1 for each 300 space. It doesn't have any, it's not going to change any. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a variance, if we're in favor of it, of no parking requirements associated with this.
I will propose a motion for preliminary and final site plan approval for change of use from mercantile to business occupancy.
Oh, we have the motion on the table to give it final, or preliminary and final site plan approval.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Pete Adams. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, we have the second issue to deal with. We're going to eliminate, or we can What we're gonna say is that we will allow the business to set up with no parking requirements.
I will propose a motion to grant a variance for parking space requirements for the revised change of use.
Okay, we have a motion on the table.
I'll second.
Seconded by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right.